Let's get some facts. 37% of you aren't subscribed to this channel. That's almost 4 out of 10 just freeloading the alpha. So come on, hit subscribe and I promise to keep leveling up the show with the best guests and the juiciest insight. Go on, do it now.
On the ground here at Breakpoint 2025 in Abu Dhabi, and right now we are joined by Brandon Millman, CEO of Phantom. Brandon, how are you doing today? Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks so much. Thanks for having me. Pretty crazy to be in this room straight on the floor. It's a zoo here today.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the vibes are awesome here. The energy is just so contagious. It's incredible. This is obviously the largest Breakpoint.
Yeah.
What is, like, we're on day 2, right? Day 1 is in the books. What is your, like, how are you feeling about it? What are your vibes on the conference?
Well, yeah, like you said, vibes are immaculate. I mean, this is actually our 5th Breakpoint as Phantom. First one was at the very first Breakpoint, 2021. And yeah, just about 5 years since we started the company. So, I mean, it's been such a crazy journey, and it's just been amazing to see how the community has grown year after year, just compounding. And I think the other thing that I'll note about the vibe here is that it's very much developer and builder focused. And that's like something that's very unique to Solana. I feel like a lot of other ecosystems kind of have gotten co-opted by the whole sort of like tourist investor type of character. But it's just awesome to see that Solana has really done a good job just cultivating the builder and developer community, which is obviously the heart of the community and ecosystem. And yeah, you can see that as really a reflection on the whole event.
Yeah, I'm really glad you said that, because, you know, those tourist investors and just investors in general, well, they won't have anything to invest in if you don't curate that builder and innovator community, right?
Yeah.
So it's just really so exciting to see.
Yeah.
So I want to talk to you, just kind of start like a little high level here, you know, kind of ask you, what are your expectations, you know, for crypto in 2026 and beyond?
Yeah, well, I think 2026 is going to be a really interesting year for crypto. I think it's going to be a breakout year for crypto to finally emerge from just sort of like the pure speculative side of things, the pure kind of like hyper gambling, if you will, and really be the year where we start to fulfill, in my mind, a lot of the initial vision around crypto, which is peer-to-peer electronic cash. And so I'm really excited and I think a lot of that is because of, you know, the general regulatory environment improving in the US, a lot of big fintech companies, obviously getting into stablecoins. I mean, the Genius Act kind of like setting the ground for that has really opened the floodgates for, you know, more traditional companies to get in. And so I think next year is really going to be sort of like the breakthrough year for payments use cases and stablecoins and things like that. And yeah, frankly, also just a direction that I want to see the industry move in.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about Phantom, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Phantom was the first wallet that I used where I said, this is what I think crypto user experience should be like. Cause I felt like, you know, previous iterations of wallets or just applications that were very clunky, right? And Phantom felt very intuitive. And of course, you guys started as a Solana first wallet, right? And that's where I joined on that journey as well. But then I was really excited to see you guys start adding multi-chains, right? You guys have ETH, obviously Sui is on there. So there's so many different things. So I want to kind of ask you about what's the core problem essentially that you guys are trying to solve for that crypto space?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the problem that we're trying to solve for the crypto space is, I think, pretty much the biggest problem that's holding back the whole space, which is around consumer usability. I think that's always been pretty much the number one thing holding the space back. Is just like, it's way too confusing for your parents to use, and it's not really something that you can recommend to a friend that has no idea what they're doing, right? Because there's so many pitfalls or so many sharp edges and things like that. And so, yeah, I mean, when we started Phantom, mission's all about really accelerating the adoption of crypto as a whole by making it safe and easy to use and solving that core usability problem. And that actually was a big reason why we chose to go with Solana in the first place, is because Solana really the first technology, blockchain technology, that really helps enable that and really just kind of gets out of the way of the developer so that you can produce that really, that first time user experience that you just mentioned, where it's like, oh, this is the first time it feels right. Obviously a big part of that is user experience and design and all of that. But a big part of that is also just the underlying technology. And I actually spent 4 years working in the Ethereum space before starting Phantom. And a big motivator for building on Solana was Raj and Toli, and just really aligning with them from a cultural perspective and around this whole idea of just pragmatism and building something that, you know, other developers want to build on. So, yeah.
Yeah. I was speaking with Raj earlier, and it's just seeing like kind of how proud he is of the developers that are building just amazing products on Solana is just really just, you know, just great to see, right? So I want to talk to you kind of about the role of wallets, right? Because they're becoming essentially like a gateway to crypto. I mean, Raj was talking about many people got their first wallet because they wanted to buy meme coins. Yeah. Right. So how do you see the role of the wallet evolving?
Yeah. So I think there's a couple different phases. So I think, so in the first phase of crypto, when you wanted to onboard into crypto, your entry point would be a centralized exchange. And as the underlying technology and infrastructure start to get better, faster, cheaper, now you're actually seeing the role of wallets assuming that position, the position that centralized exchanges once had, which is like the entry point into the broader crypto ecosystem. And so we're kind of in that phase now where like most of the action is happening on chain. Wallets are the entry point there. And then now we're kind of entering this third phase where wallets are going to start replacing consumer finance apps more generally. So like you have folks who are using Revolut, Square Cash, Venmo. You're going to actually see wallets actually replace those apps, and people who are just want to use finance generally, not just crypto, but you be able to take more control of their financial lives, be actually reaching for wallets, not even knowing that it's a wallet necessarily, but it's actually just a piece of software that leverages the superpowers of crypto to create this more global, truly internet native financial platform. And so I think we're about to enter that third arc. That's where obviously we see Phantom playing a huge role and being that sort of torch leader in that meta, so to speak. So yeah, that's how I guess I would visualize how the role of the wallet would evolve.
Now we obviously touched on kind of user experience, right? And just seeing these wallets evolving. What do you think though is kind of the biggest friction to, onboarding the masses and getting that mainstream adoption?
Yeah. I mean, there's a number of different things. I mean, there's the explaining the use cases. I mean, there's the literal things like onboarding, like having to remember the seed phrase and all of that. I think all of those things are getting solved over time. I think, one of the biggest barriers to mainstream adoption going forward is just really going to be about explaining the core value props to a broader audience, why they may want to be using a wallet in the first place, why it's better, the virtues of open permissionless finance and DeFi and all of that. I think it's, moving forward, it's going to be a little bit more of a branding, and sort of messaging and missionary kind of motion versus I think nowadays the technology, it's there, it's getting there. And like we're putting it all in one package, and that's great. But it's going to be really about, just making sure everyone's on the same page about, why this technology is going to be improving their lives. Right.
And as this technology is improving their lives, right, we can't forget about security, right? Because we are holding essentially our financial lives in these wallets, right? And with there's a lot of scams going on in crypto. A lot of users don't really understand what, how important their private keys are. Yeah. So how do you balance, kind of security with self-custody and convenience and ease of use? What is that right balance to kind of give, make sure that users are protected, users have a good experience using their wallet? What is that balance for you?
Yeah. So obviously security is something that we take extremely seriously, top priority at Phantom. I think the balance is there's a balance in sort of placating the power users of crypto, but also providing sort of like the happy path and sort of frictionless path for, you know, the broader audience. And so, yeah, it's going to be a balance of like, how do we be a place where anyone can sort of bring the key management system that they want to use, whether that is a C-Phrase or a ledger or something like that, but also provide this happy path for users. And so one of the big things that we've invested in actually over this past year is building our own next generation key management system where it's completely seamless. You don't have to remember anything. You sign up using just an email and password like you would normally would. And it looks and feels exactly like a normal fintech app, but it still has all the benefits of self-custody, meaning that you're not locked into one ecosystem. You can still export your keys, take them anywhere you want. And so, so next year, you know, we're going to be basically, the default path for people who are onboarding into Phantom is going to be this new next generation key management system. But, you know, being a wallet and being part of the open ecosystem is still going to be a big part of that is going to be still allowing people to kind of bring their own keys or being how they like to manage things.
You know, with the Web 2 world, right? People are so used to not having self-custody, right? They just put their money in a Chase Bank or whatever, forget about it. They maybe check their app, you know, once a day or whatever. Okay, money's there, good. How do you one, my question is, because I think people are a little scared of self-custody because of what they're so used to.
Yeah.
Do you think everyone should even have a crypto wallet? Like, you know?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think there's definitely a place for crypto wallets in everyone's lives, just in the same way that everyone's carrying around a normal wallet too, right? It's not necessarily going to be the place where you're putting like your entire net worth or portfolio. And, you know, there's a range of different solutions you can use for that. But I think the place for self-custody really is in how do you make the daily use case of money more useful, right? And so I think self-custody is perfect for that because, it allows people to interact with this open DeFi protocols really easily, lets them transport their assets really easily. So I think, like I said initially, the same way that most people are carrying around like a literal physical wallet with cash in it, for self-custody, I think most people are going to be carrying around digital wallets.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very important to educate people and kind of protecting them from themselves, especially newer users.
Totally, yeah. I think one thing that a lot of people get wrong about UX, user experience, is that when they think about user experience, they just think about like the walls of the application and what's happening in there. But the user experience is actually about managing the user journey holistically, like the tone, the brand, the education piece, customer support, how you help them manage problems and all of that. So at Phantom, when we think about UX, we think about like that entire journey, not just like how easy it is to press a button or whatever. Yeah.
Now, kind of moving away from the newer user and, kind of talking about, the crypto native person, right?
Yeah.
It's almost become a meme at this point on crypto Twitter. It's like one token, right? You see them with MetaMask all the time. Do you think wallets should even have tokens? And how do you think that would even benefit it if they did?
Well, I'll just be pretty explicit. Like, we have no plan on doing a token. I think it's something you do when you have no other option.
No.
In my mind, there's a lot of risk associated with doing a token. I think most people think about risk from a regulatory perspective, but there's actually a lot of risk just doing one, just because it's like being a public company, but where your investors are sort of very short, in a lot of cases, very short-term thinking, and it could honestly just kill your company for no reason. And so I think most people, MetaMask, et cetera, they're doing it because it's kind of the nuclear option. They have no other choice. So that's my maybe general hot take about wallet tokens. I mean, I think generally we're trying to ensure that everyone has access to the tokens generally.
Exactly.
And we're helping enable the entire ecosystem. I don't really see a great place for us to do one.
Yeah, I agree with that take in general. Like, I don't really think they should have tokens. I think if you just worry about the user experience, worry about, having, other tokens that are already existing that the wallet supports, I think that should be good enough, right?
Yeah.
But I want to kind of move on to what do you think is happening right now in crypto, and in this space, whether that's from the builder, developers, right? That people are underestimating right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think, maybe going back to some of the stuff around stablecoins, I think it's easy to kind of underestimate that because there's not this kind of like speculative fervor around it. It's a stablecoin, just stay stable. I think a lot of people underappreciate that the Genius Act was the very first time that we've had real crypto legislation that made it into like law in the US and what that actually means in terms of like broader institutional adoption and broader adoption from fintechs generally. So I think that's underappreciated. And I think that's like I said, for 2026 going to actually fuel most of the growth versus just pure price action. Yeah.
Now, kind of when crypto first started, right? All these chains, they had their own separate wallets. None of them ever spoke to each other, right? Mm-hmm. But now as like kind of, I guess, interoperability is becoming more important, right? You want to like be able to swap from Sol to ETH, to SUI, vice versa, whatever that is. Why is like bridging, and it seems like, bridging is such a clunky experience. It takes very long. It can be expensive. Why is that? Why can't these networks just really speak to each other, be fast, efficient, and cheap?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think maybe just to preface, I do think that the world of wallets is, by virtue of us evolving into this multi-chain wallet, I do think the future for wallets is multi-chain in the same sense that you don't really have a centralized exchanges that are like mono-chain. Centralized exchanges are inherently multi-chain experiences, right? You go there to access kind of any coin that you want or are thinking about. Similarly, I think wallets are going to develop in a similar way, or have been for many years, where you're just going to have one wallet where you can interact with any chain. And obviously a big part of making that a reality is bridging and making it super seamless to go in between different chains. Bridging is a really hard problem to solve. I mean, it's a fundamental limitation of they're clunky because you need to have confirmations on chain and to have it you need to have the chains be able to talk to each other, and actually have confirmations on the chain in order to have safety that
right.
assets have actually landed. Mm-hmm. And so because of that, and because of sort of the fundamental limitations of decentralized networks, they've typically been clunky. And so, in order to get around some of the clunkiness, some chains end up taking a little bit more riskier approaches. Those end up potentially burning users, and then we kind of like have to start all over again in terms of bridge tech. It's a hard problem to solve. I don't know if we've found the perfect solution yet, but I know, for example, there's folks like Relay. They're doing a good job there that are taking a little bit of a different approach where you kind of have market makers in between that are providing instant liquidity, but taking on some risk on their side. And so it may not be it may be slightly more expensive than doing like a raw bridge, between chain to chain. But I think the more bridge options that we have, it'll allow users to kind of pick like what their kind of tolerance is and all that. Anyway, long story short, I think we still have a long way to go with the bridges, but I'm pretty excited about what folks like Relay and Layer 0 are doing.
Yeah, it kind of goes back to that question about like security versus like convenience and efficiency. Like, how do you balance that, right? Obviously, security should be the priority, because what's the point of swapping if you can't be secure and get what you want to swap into or bridge into, right?
Yeah.
So I want to kind of, before I let you go here, I want to kind of ask you about what are you most excited about for the future of Phantom, right? But then in general, in the future of Solana and crypto.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think, going back to sort of my whole spiel about the third arc of wallets, I think what I'm most excited about Phantom is actually evolving from just being a wallet, and actually being sort of the next generation consumer finance app that's actually truly global. I think that's something that we're very uniquely positioned to do that no other company in the world is really actually able to do. I mean, you think about Robinhood and how, they can try to go international and all these different ways. But for example, if they go international and open up Robinhood UK, now they have a Robinhood US, UK, great. They've internationally expanded. However, they're actually fundamentally limited by the underlying infrastructure that they're built on still. You're not really going to have US users interacting with UK users. You're just going to have these separate pools. And that's a fundamental limitation of the infra that they're built on, right? And because we're built crypto first in sort of this future-proofed way, I think we have the real shot of like really truly becoming that internet native consumer finance app. So that's what I'm most excited about for us. And, similarly for 2026, moving in that direction.
Fantastic. Brandon, it's been a pleasure speaking with you. We're definitely going to be excited to see what, Phantom starts rolling out. Looking forward to, seeing all the things that you spoke about come to fruition. Again, thank you for joining us and, enjoy the rest of the Breakpoint.
Yeah, you as well. Thanks so much.
So you obviously like this video enough that you've got to the end. That's quite a big task. But listen, do me a favor, hit the like and subscribe button and also check out what video's next because I think you'll love it. But if you want even more, and when I'm talking more, I'm talking about member generated ideas, incredible alpha, research, everything there to help you in your journey, just head to realvision.com/join for the best financial intelligence out there and the pure alpha that's within the platform.